as this day comes to a quiet close, I want to invite you to breathe slowly, gently, and let the weight of the world begin to loosen its grip. You've carried so much today: responsibilities, expectations, small frustrations, silent emotions, even the thoughts you tried to ignore. But right now, in this moment, you don't have to hold any of it alone. There's a kind of stillness that only appears at night, when the noise fades, when the house settles, when the world stops demanding anything from you. And in that stillness, God whispers, "Come rest with me." Maybe today was overwhelming. Maybe it was exhausting. Maybe you held yourself together for others, but didn't have a moment to be honest with your own heart. If that's you, you're not the only one. Many people lie awake at night replaying conversations, reliving mistakes, or worrying about tomorrow. But you don't need to carry those burdens into your sleep. Take a moment and picture placing everything heavy, every thought, every worry, into God's hands, like setting down a bag you've been carrying far too long. There is a lesson here. Peace doesn't begin when life becomes perfect. Peace begins when we stop trying to carry everything on our own. Before we move into prayer, let this truth settle deep inside you. You are not alone tonight. God sees you, God hears you, and God is closer than the breath you just took. And if this moment is already speaking to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to breathe again, someone who needs to remember that God hasn't left them. Now let's step deeper into this moment together and begin by thanking God for the quiet blessings He carried us through today.
Before we ask God for anything tonight, let's pause and notice what He's already done. Sometimes His goodness shows up in the simplest places, so simple that we rush past them without a second thought. But gratitude has a way of softening the heart, of reminding us that even on the hardest days, we were never walking alone. Think back over your day. Maybe it started with a warm cup of coffee, a small moment of calm before the world woke up. Maybe you made it home safely through traffic that could have gone differently. Maybe someone spoke a kind word at the exact moment you needed it. Even the breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the meal that filled your stomach, none of it is small. These are God's fingerprints woven into the fabric of an ordinary day. And here's something beautiful. The more we pay attention, the more we begin to see that God has been carrying us in ways we never noticed. That supermarket cashier who smiled at you, that unexpected moment of laughter, that problem you feared but somehow worked itself out. These quiet mercies are not coincidences. They're reminders that God is near, even when we're too busy or too tired to notice. Let this settle in your spirit. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, but it changes you. It turns your heart toward hope. It opens your eyes to God's steady presence. It reminds you that you're held even on the days that felt chaotic. And if you feel grateful for even one thing tonight, share this video with someone who needs help seeing the good again, because a thankful heart can reignite someone's faith. Now, with gratitude grounding our spirit, let's look honestly at our day and bring our flaws, our mistakes, and our humanness before the Lord. Let's step into a moment of honest reflection.
Now that gratitude has softened our hearts, let's step into something just as important: honest reflection. Not the kind that beats you down, but the kind that gently brings you back to God's grace. Because every one of us has moments in a day that we wish we could rewind. And admitting those moments doesn't push God away, it draws Him closer. Maybe today you snapped at someone because you were tired. Maybe you carried fear into a decision that needed courage. Maybe you compared yourself to someone online and felt smaller because of it. Or maybe you acted strong on the outside while quietly fighting doubt on the inside. These things don't make you a failure, they make you human, and humans need grace. Here's the powerful truth. God already knows the parts of your day you're not proud of, and He still invites you into His presence without hesitation. That alone should lift a weight off your shoulders. You don't have to hide from Him. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to be perfect to be held. And if one moment from today is still sitting heavy on your heart, don't run from it. Place it in God's hands. Let Him turn your guilt into growth, your regret into renewal.
Mistakes aren't meant to bury you, they're meant to teach you who you can become with God's help. If this is speaking to you, share this video with someone who feels like they've fallen short today. Let them know they're not alone, and grace is still within reach. Now, as our hearts become honest and open, let's release the mental weight we've been carrying and let God cleanse our minds with His peace.
As the night settles in, this is the moment when our minds often refuse to slow down. Thoughts we ignored all day start knocking for attention, worries about the future, replayed conversations, fears we never said out loud. It's strange how the quiet of the night can make our thoughts feel so loud. But you don't have to face those thoughts alone, and you don't have to carry them into your sleep. Think of all the weight your mind has held today, the bills you're trying to juggle, the health concerns you don't have answers for, the decisions hanging over your head, the relationships that feel uncertain, the pressure to hold everything together. Maybe your mind has been racing with what ifs, or maybe you've been fighting a silent battle no one else knows about. And here's the honest truth. Not every thought that visits you deserves to stay. Pause for a moment and imagine setting all those thoughts at the feet of Jesus, one by one. Let them fall like stones you've been gripping too tightly. There's a reason God invites us to cast our cares on Him. A mind that carries too much cannot rest, but a mind surrendered to Him can finally breathe again. And let this become your reminder tonight. Peace isn't found by solving every problem. It's found by trusting the one who already knows the way through. When you release what you cannot control, you make room for the peace God has been waiting to pour into you. If this is touching something inside you, share this video with someone whose mind never seems to quiet down. Your share might be the reason they finally sleep in peace tonight. Now, with our minds gently unburdened, let's step into a place of protection, resting in the truth that God watches over us even when we sleep. Let's move into a moment of asking Him to guard our night. Night has a way of reminding us how small we are. The world grows quiet, the lights go out, and suddenly the things we can't control feel closer than ever. But this is also the hour when God's protection becomes the most comforting, because He sees what we cannot see, and He guards what we cannot watch. Think about your home right now. The doors you locked, the windows you checked, the people you love sleeping under the same roof. You can only do so much. You can prepare, you can be careful, but you can't stay awake all night protecting everything. That's why God's promise is so powerful. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't grow tired. His eyes never close, not even for a moment. Maybe you felt uneasy at night before, lying awake with a sense of vulnerability, jumping at small sounds, or worrying about something happening to the people you care about. Many people feel that way, more than you realize. But imagine this: God placing a shield over your home, covering every door, every window, every room with His presence. Imagine His angels standing guard where your strength ends. Here's the truth that lifts the heart. You don't rest because everything is perfect. You rest because the one who watches over you never slumbers. When you can't protect yourself, God does. When you can't see what tomorrow holds, He already stands in it. And if you needed to hear this tonight, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who feels unsafe, someone who worries at night, someone who needs to be reminded that God is their defender. Now, wrapped in the assurance of His protection, let's move deeper into His peace and exchange every fear still lingering in our hearts for the rest only He can give.
There comes a moment each night when God gently invites us into an exchange, an invitation to set down what is heavy and receive what only He can give. Fear may have followed you through your day, whispering worst-case scenarios. Anxiety may have tightened your chest or made your thoughts run in circles. But Jesus doesn't ask you to pretend those feelings don't exist. He asks you to bring them to Him. Think of the times today when fear stole your peace, maybe a situation at work, a doctor's appointment you've been avoiding, a conversation that left you uneasy, or a future decision that feels too big to handle. Or maybe it was quieter, a sudden worry in traffic, a moment of insecurity, a late-night thought that snowballed into panic.
These moments don't define you, but they do reveal how deeply you need God's calming presence. Here's the beautiful truth. Jesus never lets you walk into fear alone. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest isn't something you earn, it's something He gives. When you hand Him your fear, He hands you His peace. When you surrender your anxiety, He surrounds you with His rest. It's a divine exchange, one miracle at a time. Let this sink into your heart. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of Jesus in the middle of them. And when He is near, fear loses its power. If you feel this exchange happening in you right now, share this video with someone who's been fighting fear alone. Your simple act of kindness might be the reminder they desperately need tonight. Now, with fear loosened from our grip and peace settling over us like a warm blanket, let's look ahead to tomorrow, trusting God to step into the next day with us, guiding every step before we even take it.
Now that peace has begun to settle over your heart, let's look gently toward tomorrow. A new day is waiting for you, one you haven't stepped into yet, one filled with decisions, conversations, responsibilities, and moments you can't predict. But the good news is this: you don't enter tomorrow alone. God walks ahead of you, preparing the path long before your feet ever touch it. Maybe you have something important coming up, a meeting that makes you nervous, a doctor's appointment that weighs on your mind, a relationship that needs healing, or a task you're not sure you're strong enough to handle. Or maybe tomorrow looks ordinary. But sometimes the ordinary days are the ones where we need God's guidance the most, because strength isn't just for the battles. Strength is for the everyday moments where our spirit can grow weary without even noticing. Here's the lesson we hold on to tonight. You don't have to feel ready for tomorrow to be ready. When God fills your heart with fresh strength, He gives you what you need exactly when you need it. He equips your hands, steadies your thoughts, and lights your steps one at a time. You don't have to see the whole road, just trust the one who does. Take a breath and let this truth wash over you. Every sunrise is a reminder that God is not finished with your story. There is more ahead for you, more purpose, more growth, more grace, and you are stepping into it with Him. If this gives you courage or hope for the day ahead, share this video with someone who feels unsure about tomorrow. You never know whose spirit might rise again because of a simple encouragement. Now, with tomorrow placed safely in God's hands, let's turn our hearts outward and pray not only for ourselves, but for the people we love and the ones who desperately need God's touch tonight.
As we place tomorrow in God's hands, let's widen our hearts for a moment and think about the people we love, because every one of us knows someone who is hurting tonight, someone who's carrying a burden they haven't spoken aloud, someone who's pretending to be strong during the day but falls apart the moment the lights go out. And sometimes that someone is closer than we think. Maybe you know a family member struggling with their health, a friend battling anxiety or depression, a parent overwhelmed by responsibilities, or a child quietly longing for comfort. Maybe there's someone you care about who feels distant from God, lost in confusion, or discouraged by circumstances they can't fix. These silent battles often weigh heavier at night, but this is exactly where prayer becomes a lifeline. Take a moment and picture their faces, one by one. Imagine God's presence surrounding them like a warm, protective embrace. Imagine Him stepping into their situation, healing what's broken, calming what's chaotic, restoring what's been damaged, and strengthening what feels weak. When we pray for others, we're not just asking God to intervene, we're placing their lives in the hands of the one who loves them even more than we do. And here's a beautiful truth to hold on to. Your prayers reach places your hands cannot. Even if you can't fix their problems, your intercession invites God into their story, and miracles often begin with a single whispered prayer on someone else's behalf. If someone came to your mind while listening to this, share this video with them. It might be exactly the reminder of hope and comfort they need tonight.
Now, with our hearts extended in love for others, let's bring everything back to God once more and rest fully in His arms as we surrender this entire night into His care. Let's move into a final moment of peace and trust.
And now, as the world grows quiet and your body begins to settle, this is the moment to fully surrender, to release your grip on everything you cannot control and place this entire night into God's gentle, unwavering hands. There's a sweetness in this kind of surrender, a deep relief that comes when you finally stop trying to hold everything together on your own. Think of how children fall asleep without fear, trusting that someone bigger, stronger, and safer is watching over them. That's the picture of what God invites you into tonight. You don't have to earn His rest. You don't have to prove yourself worthy of His peace. You simply let go and let Him be the one who carries you. Maybe your heart still feels heavy from the day. Maybe there are questions without answers, problems without solutions, or emotions you haven't fully processed. But here is the truth your soul needs to hear. You don't have to have everything figured out before you sleep. God is already working in places you can't see, arranging things you don't know about, healing what you didn't even realize was hurting. Let this settle deep within you. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to God's protection, God's timing, and God's love. When you release the night to Him, you're saying, "Lord, I trust you more than I trust my fear." And that kind of faith opens the door to a rest that reaches deeper than sleep. If this moment of surrender is touching your heart, share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that they don't have to face the night alone. Let your act of faith become someone else's comfort. Now, with everything placed safely in God's hands, let's rest in the fullness of His presence and step quietly into the final blessing for tonight.
As this quiet moment comes to an end, I want you to remember something deeply comforting. You are not meant to walk through life alone. Nights like this remind us how much we need connection, encouragement, and a place where our hearts can breathe. And if this prayer has touched you, even in a small way, then you already belong to something beautiful. A growing family of people who seek God's peace together night after night. There are so many people who go to sleep feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved. Maybe you felt that way before too. But imagine this, a community where every person is lifted in prayer, where burdens are shared, where no one has to face their battles alone. A place where your fears are met with compassion, your faith is strengthened, and your heart is reminded that God is closer than you think. That's what we're building here. One prayer, one voice, one night at a time. And here's the lesson this moment leaves us with. God often uses one simple connection to change the entire atmosphere of someone's life. Your presence here is not accidental. Your desire to draw near to Him is purposeful. And your journey is meant to be shared, not carried in silence. If you felt God's peace tonight, if something in your spirit softened, if you felt seen, comforted, or strengthened, then stay connected. Join this family of prayer. Come back each night so we can keep seeking God together, keep lifting one another up, and keep reminding the world that hope is still alive. And before you close your eyes, think of one person who needs this same peace. Someone who's struggling, someone who's hurting, someone who needs to know they matter. Share this video with them. Your simple act might be the very thing that brings light into their night. Now, rest peacefully, knowing you're part of something bigger, and that God's presence is watching over you as you sleep.